No zones.
There will be no zones here.
No f***ing zones.
All right, No Zones fans, this is the No Zones podcast with your host, Tony Gill. You can follow me on Twitter at @TonyGill because I changed it, and then I lost my verification.
You did, man. I was kind of tight about that.
Yeah, I'm not blue check Tone so far, but I'm going to get it back, though. We back.
I believe in.
This game, weird. The Bulls end up losing. I think we all kind of expected them to lose 116-108 to the Jimmy Butler-led Miami Heat, but I mean, the post-game quotes out of this game after a blowout is usually kind of, well, we need to do better. Sometimes, get your butts kicked or whatever. But this one was really, really weird. Like, everybody had their narrative going. The Bulls started out, very, very bad, 13-0 runs to start the game. I think they went 0 for 6 in that stretch. Yep. A couple wide open threes given up, and they were really bad.
Horrible,
everybody.
Horrible.
So we're going to get into it. And if you don't recognize that voice, that's a voice that's been on this podcast before. That is one half of It's the Bigs, Eugene McIntosh. What's up, Gene?
What up, though?
And a guy chilling in the background. He may chime in. Joe Cowley, who just did that fantastic sit-down with Lawrence Holmes, is out here breaking records.
Yeah, that was a very good listen. I just set my phone next to me, man. I was watching some highlights of some game, and I looked up. I was an hour and a half in. Like, my boy Cowley took me there, man. So that was good stuff, man.
But, man, this let's just jump right into this game. Well, the hottest thing that came out of this game was Jim Boylan pulling Zach LaVine out real early, into this game and had him sit for a while. And I wanted you guys to listen to what Jim had to say about why he pulled Zach, and just listen to the reasoning for it, because we've been doing this thing with Jim for a while in terms of, does he pull guys, does he not pull guys? I mean, I don't know if he remembers, if he pulls guys or not.
He can't possibly remember.
Because he keeps changing. He keeps flipping the narrative on if he pulls guys. So tonight he pulls Zach LaVine, and this is the reason why.
I thought he needed a break. I thought he needed to come in and think about it. I felt there were some defensive mistakes that didn't need to be made, and I thought he needed to come over and think about it for a minute.
You obviously...
I've done that a couple times this year,
right,
as you know.
And you've also challenged him to be a better two-way player, both privately and publicly with us. Where do you think he stands in that regard right now?
I think we can all do better. I put a lot of pressure on him to improve and be a two-way player. And we're still in those learning moments.
And you talked about the way that the game closed. How troubling is it, though, that the subs seem to come out and play with this kind of force and energy that you're talking about, but you're not really seeing it consistently from the start?
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's not right. And yeah, it bothers me.
Jim, did you talk to Zach when you pulled him, or did you want him to sit and think?
Yeah, I just pulled him. I didn't, not combative. Guys know.
Right.
They know. Guys know.
There were a lot of
Zach LaVine and Larry Markkinen and our starters got to play better. They got to play better for us to become what we can become. That's how it works.
Jim, it looked like he had some issues closing out. Was that the problem specifically that you saw in him?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it. I want him to be a two-way player. That's what I want him to be.
There were a lot of breakdowns in that first 4 minutes, and you pulled only LaVine. Then when he went out, you got outscored by like 15 more. Mm-hmm. Why did you just pull him?
Because I didn't want him in the game anymore, Sam. I think he needed to come over and think about it. He had 3 egregious defensive mistakes that I've talked to him about. So.
You just said you weren't going to get into specifics, but then you say pretty egregious.
Yeah, I didn't say what they were.
What were the egregious ones?
I'm not going to get into it with you. I'm not going to get into it with you. I'm not.
So that was Jim Boylan talking about pulling his superstar Zach LaVine out of the game. And Gene, I don't know if he's getting through to any of these players effectively enough for me. I mean, I don't know your thoughts on Jim, but I mean, it seems like he's losing this battle, of trying to create, a culture that he wants, that they played against. The Miami Heat has a culture of winning, of accountability, of personal responsibility for everybody, coach included, players, everybody, 1 through 12, or however many players on that roster has a job to do. And if they don't keep up with that job, they're sitting, or they're getting cut, or they're being sent home, like Deion Waiters with his, suspension and stuff like that. And the Bulls, they're kind of like a fake culture, of what that is. What did you see from that start, and why did he pull Zach LaVine?
Good question, man. It was a very ugly start. I looked up. I was just getting my computer ready. I was, dropping my first comment, follow the bigs for the live game chat. I look up. It's 13-0. Kendrick Nunn got 8 of the 13. Like you said, they ended it with a wide-open 3. Well, there were 2 wide-open 3s. And it's just no way that you should start the game off. But I want to go back to the Detroit game.
Okay.
Because, my favorite word is fluff. Because we get a lot of that, whether it's from Jim Boylan, whether it's from Gar Pax. Just this organization in general have been giving us fluff since I've been here, since Derrick Rose last year. So this is my 5th year here. And it's the same old story over and over again. So with that being said, there was way too much put into them dubbing the Pistons, because the Pistons are flat out terrible.
Yeah.
Like with Blake Griffin is done. Looks like he's done. Andre Drummond had no interest in playing the other day. And other than D. Rose and Langston Galloway, I had no idea who any of those other guys. Luke Kennard, cool, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there was way too much emphasis and too much good put on dubbing the Pistons. But it's like when you come out and you play a team who's worth something, like you said, who has an established culture, they're going to put you in your place. And that's exactly what they did tonight. But as far as Coach Boylan is concerned, like I always say, he's a cool guy. Like he's personable. If you want to talk to him, he's always going to give you a minute. He's going to talk to you. He's going to give you whatever you need. But I definitely think he's lost. He's not losing. He's lost these guys. And I think it's not just the players. I think it's his staff as well. I don't think anyone believes in anything that's going on around here.
It was his responsibility. Gar Pax entrusted him after, building this roster, basically starting out from the Jabari trade. With adding Otto Porter, having enough room, and then being able to go get that Young, who is supposed to be one of the leaders on this team, to kind of help build that culture, a veteran presence at the point guard position, to settle that position, and Thomas Satoransky, who has had, 2 good games? Maybe. It's not happening. It's not happening on any level. He was also entrusted with the growth of one of the star pieces to the Jimmy Butler trade in Lauri Markkanen, and he has regressed
big time.
He has regressed. How can you keep on the same path that you've been on, not being at least partially worried that this team is going down the tubes, because the 2 guys that this was supposed to be built around, Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen, have not showed up at all on a consistent basis through the soft part of their schedule.
Definitely.
And that's the biggest worry, that this is the easy part of the schedule.
Right.
They just haven't even looked competitive or ready to play in nearly enough games as they say they are. And that goes to preparation, going into these games. That goes to, what are you teaching? Jim is a big teacher guy.
I'm so sick of hearing that.
He's a big teacher guy. What are you teaching? What are they learning? When the third unit has outplayed your second and your starting unit, that's a problem. That's not something that should be praised or lauded. Of course, those guys are going to go out and play. They want to get some minutes.
Right.
So, of course, they're going to go out there and, kind of play as hard as they can. That should be embarrassing. Embarrassing for the starters to be outplayed like that.
Oh, there's no should be. It's very embarrassing. And it's the Laurie hurt thing. Like, how long are we going to go with that? If he's hurt, he doesn't play.
He needs to sit. He
Bottom
needs
line.
to sit. If the oblique, if that's bothering him, because the assumption is, okay, if he's going out there to play,
He can
all
play.
right, then
He's
he can
fine.
play. He's
fine.
fine. So now what's the issue?
What was he? 3
Is
for
it-
12? He was, 3 for 12, 9.7
Laurie's
rebounds.
3 for 12, 9 points, 7 rebounds,
0 for from 3
0 for 3,
in 25 minutes?
and 24 minutes.
So I don't
24
get
minutes.
I don't get that. I don't get that at all.
The bar has just been so low for Laurie. Because now the bar is, does he at least have double-digit field goal attempts?
He should.
That's the bar.
Yeah.
That's the bar now for Laurie Markkinen, the guy that you're supposed to be built around. Now, he got out of here pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. I don't know if Joe, did you guys ask him questions? No?
Wow.
Yeah, the star player can't be doing that.
Is he a star player though? Where did that come from?
The organization. The organization. They got the pieces that fit in terms of character where they won't overpower Laurie.
Jimmy Butler was
Where-
traded for who?
Essentially, Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and Laurie Markkinen.
Like Cowley said the other day, if you combine those three, they don't even match that one.
No.
Come on, brother.
No, and this rebuild that
No, man.
they've lauded
No.
over. I mean, something's got to change. Like Zach and Laurie cannot play together. I think that's pretty obvious. We've seen enough games now. You think?
I like Zach. I think Zach is a talented guy. I think he's physically capable. He's an athletic guy, but I don't think he's gotten any better since he's touched down in Chicago. He has one move, that right to left crossover. If I see it again, I'm going to scream. And Laurie, I think that's a player development issue. I think he takes fault in it, but I think the player development staff, I don't know whose job that is. I think that's what Fred Hoiberg was good at. I got that from a couple players. They said Fred may not be that good of a coach per se, but as a player development guy, they love Fred with that. So I think I think his regression has a lot to do with, player development, man. I don't know how much of that goes to the coaches and to him, because I'm pretty sure most NBA players, they come to the gym, they come to practice, they get the extra work in, but that's regulation. Like, as a star player, there are just certain things that from my star player that I see, and I don't see star anything in Laurie Markkinen. Zach LaVine, cool, because he has the athletic ability, he has the ability to score 25, 30 points at any time, but yeah, I don't know where that star tag came from, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know well, obviously one of them got to go, in my opinion. One of them, they have to go.
I thought Zach was going to be gone this summer.
That has to be considered. You think, they have to be thinking about that.
I agree.
I mean, whatever, and for me, it doesn't matter who goes, honestly.
Wow.
I think whoever gives you the most return is the one that should go. Nobody is safe. The only people that should be quote-unquote safe, in my opinion, is Wendell Carter Jr. and Kobe White. But everybody else, you got to put them on the table. You got to, because take a step back. You're trying to build a winning culture around a guy that's literally never won in his college career, in Zach LaVine, and his pro career. Has never won anything. So when and I've said this on this podcast plenty of times, I'd be careful to put, okay, let's win now on a guy that doesn't know how to do it, that's never been around it, that's never been around. He's been around one person. That's one, and that's Kevin Garnett. And that was old Kevin Garnett.
Right.
He's never seen it with his own eyes on how to do it. So now you're asking a guy to lead you in the winning when he's never done it, when Larry Markkanen's never done it,
Right.
when Chris Dunn's never done it. When what? Who's the most winningest person, would you say, on his roster? Thad Young?
Yeah. Do you think
that Thad Young went 5 for 15?
Why does he have 15 shot attempts?
Fam.
Do you think this team do you think this team is that talented to even
going into the season? I thought that they were decent enough to compete.
But what does that mean? Does that mean
be in games, win a couple games that they weren't supposed to? The Lakers game.
Fight for a playoff seed.
Fight for the 7 or 8 seed. Fight for it. I didn't think that they were going to get it, but at least look like, okay, they're going to be in the mix.
I didn't think so at all.
This looks like more of a lottery team. But a lot of people did. A lot of people were more optimistic than they have been the last 3 years.
Why?
I think natural progression, right, from Laurie. You expect from the last 2 years. You say, okay, Laurie has seen steps. Outside of the injuries, you saw what Laurie could do. Zach LaVine, again, minus the injuries, he was taking another step up. You assume going into his 6th season, a season where people were talking about all-star season for Zach LaVine and Laurie, but Zach specifically. You get a Jim Boylan with a full training camp. Majority healthy bodies going in outside of the Chandler Hutchison one. There were things to be not excited but optimistic about. And then they say the playoff word. And now you got to hold them to that standard of a playoff team. And they are closer to getting the number 1 pick than they are being a playoff team.
Tony, I just have to totally disagree with whoever thought that these guys had any chance of being a playoff team this year. Like, I don't see what steps people – I mean, Chicago deserves better. So, I mean, we're always optimistic and hoping. But if you want to stop being a homer and be a true student of the game and put your fandom aside, this is the same team as last year.
I want to have you guys listen to what Zach LaVine said, because he didn't know what Jim Boylan said about him and his defensive efforts tonight. And once it was made known to him, here's what Zach LaVine had to say.
They got off to a 13-0 start, and they made shots we didn't. They got off to a good start.
You were obviously pulled pretty early there. Did Jim tell you why?
I don't know. It's just, I guess I was the blame for it, so, I got pulled early before by him. I guess that's just his thing to do. I got to take it with stride. I'm not the coach. What did he say I get pulled for?
He said you made 3 egregious defensive mistakes.
Yeah, Zach LaVine's, got 13 points scored on him, I guess, or, it was a starting 5. I don't remember, so. I thought I did. I thought I was trying to do my job out there. So, I got to take it with stride. And like I said, I can't do anything about that. I just got to control what I can control. I can't control my minutes.
Right. Do you feel in a situation like that, though, that you may be getting singled out?
I mean, if you don't just pull me, yeah, for sure. But, that's not my decision.
Right.
Zach, do you know what the 3 egregious, as he called them, mistakes were?
I remember looking at them. I don't remember seeing 3 egregious mistakes. I think I was supposed to show on one, and I didn't. I told him to, because Jimmy usually doesn't set screens. He slips out of them. So I didn't want to show and have him, cut right to the basket. But they told me to show, so I didn't show. The other 2, I don't know.
Did you communicate that?
Yeah, but
to the coach?
Yeah, that's you have conversation with him, but You know, he thinks that I had 3 egregious defensive mistakes. That's on him. He can make his own opinion on that.
Were you, now that you've been told that, and he probably would communicate that to you on the flight or what have you, do you feel like it's something you guys will talk out? How does that usually happen when Jim does something like that? Because it's happened other times this season.
I mean, I tell him how I feel. He tells me how he feels. You know, and I can't really let that try to affect my game because, you know, I still got, you know, the rest of the game to play. So I'll have to talk to him after the game about it, you know, see what we have to talk about.
So a couple side, remarks about what Jim had to say about Zach and him being pulled. I think Zach has a point that I went back and looked at the plays. All of them wasn't his fault. I'm not by all means saying he's a great defender. He said it later in his post game that he wasn't the greatest defender, all NBA defender.
Right.
But the plays that Jim is referencing, at least 2 of those wasn't his fault. And if you're going to do the pull the starters thing, which they deserve to be pulled, why single out Zach LaVine? What do you think that was?
Somebody's got to pay, and it's like that quarterback thing. It's like when the team is winning, the quarterback gets all the pub. When they're losing, the quarterback takes the fault. So it's like they've harped on Zach being this 2-way player, which in my eyes, man, look, I came up. That's how I got my stripes. I'm not an NBA player. Never was. Never will be. But it doesn't take much to be a to defend, especially when you're that athletic and. It's a will thing. Like, we watch these games closely, man. We're here to analyze and be real. And Zach doesn't put forth the necessary effort to be a 2-way player. That's just bottom line. And we don't have the horses for him to be able to do that. We don't have another Patrick Beverly. I mean, Chris Dunn is a pretty good defender. But he plays with the Clippers, and he has Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Lou Will, and a bunch of other guys that can kind of take that weight off of him. Zach LaVine doesn't have anyone to do that. So he has to give his all, and a lot of times he doesn't. And it's not like it resorts to him doing more offensively. So I think it's a will thing, but also, again, it's Jim Boylan, man. No one is buying into that, man. No one is buying it. You know, he talks about the guys like the tell-all story for me was, who did they play before Detroit? And Archie played the last 12 minutes of the game.
What? Brooklyn? Okay.
Sato, who they signed in the offseason. Chris Dunn, your backup point guard. They're on the bench in the clutch. Your third-string player. And Archie was playing pretty well, but I don't care how well my third-string point guard is playing, man. My starting point guard will finish the basketball game. So that tells me all I need to know about this basketball team.
Tom Sederansky, 21 minutes, minus 11, plus minus.
Come on, man.
6 points.
Come on, man.
Fail.
Come on, man.
What's the point of him being here? They might as well just go into full development mode and say, all right, Kobe, let's start to see if you can develop into a point guard at this point. I think hopes of trying to be in the playoffs should be thrown out the window, and they need to again see what they have. How many times have we heard that, these last couple years? See what we have. And it looks like they're going to lead that way. But in terms of Zach, though, there was a couple plays where Lowry got beat straight line drives by Kelly Olynyk on 2 separate occasions in that run, and he didn't get pulled.
He's hurt.
I mean, just straight up, Lowry is running to the 3-point line and then just gets flatly beat, doesn't even look around, doesn't know where his help is, doesn't help his help when it does come eventually, just stands there.
He's hurt, Tony.
Their defensive scheme is not working. And I know people will point out, well, they're, tops in the league in turnovers, but their defensive principles are all messed up because they're trying to be this super aggressive team one, they're not scoring off those turnovers as nearly as enough as they should. And two, because everybody's cheating, everybody is reaching, it's leaving guys wide open. It's messing with their rotations. And I don't know if this is Roy Rogers specific. He was brought in to be the defensive guy, the defensive coordinator, to implement what he did in Houston to the Bulls. That plan is not working. They need to be able to play base defense first before they do the other aggressive things that they feel like they want to do. It's just it's not working. It's not working, and the stubbornness too to stick with it is another thing too. Joe, you're sitting here, so I have to get your opinion. It's only respectful to get your opinion on what you've seen. First of all, tonight and how the Bulls played. And then overall, where do you see this going? You have the most experience here, so you've seen a lot of seasons. So again, where did you see? What did you see from this game? And then based on the results of these last couple games, where do you see this headed?
Straight to hell is where it's going. No, hey, look, everything you guys said was perfectly said. And here's the drum that I keep beating over and over again that I think gets lost, especially in games like this. We're going to blame the guy that was building one wall. We're going to yell at the guy that was doing the cement and left his fingerprints in it. We're going to get pissed at the guy that didn't do the drywall the right way. Then we're going to get mad at the foreman because we didn't like the way he was yelling at the guy that was doing the cement stuff. Meanwhile, the architects are sitting up in that suite, still not understanding what it takes to build a winning culture. They talk about culture, they talk about accountability, and they miss on every swing. Tonight was a perfect example of an organization that has culture, has an identity, identifies what it wants from players, the type of players it wants, brings them in, has a coach that matches it and understands it, has a president of basketball operations who understands it. They are in sync throughout. Fred Hoiberg, they bring him over. He wants shooters. They never get him a shooter. They get him Dwayne Wade. They get him ISO guys. Jim wants tough guys. You're building this foundation on two Pac-12 guys who never won at any level. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying the Pac-12 is soft, but the Pac-12 is kind of soft. Meanwhile, give me those two ACC guys that are out there. Those might be the pillars that you're going to have to build this thing on. Mm-hmm. You might have to be Wendell and Kobe. You might have to switch things up. How are you going to sell that to the fan base? Because then do you have to get a new coach for that? Do you have to – it's just – this is just so clumsy and so obvious year after year. And I understand everything you guys are saying is true, but we're still all blaming the wrong people. And I've had this conversation with people in the organization, with higher-ups in the organization. The biggest mistake they made, to me, and we can sit there and getting rid of Tibbs, and you go right down the line. The biggest mistake they made was the move they didn't make this offseason when they had a chance to say, hey, Gar, we like what you do with the draft. We're going to create a new position from you. You're not a general manager. You're not respected as a general manager from other executives, from other organizations, from other players. Pax, we love what you do, but we need a new face, a new set of eyes, a new voice. Here's what we're going to do. Trajan Langdon, you come over. You are now our general manager. You are dealing with the media. You are dealing with players. You are dealing with agents and scouting. And we like everything about you. This organization runs through your eyes and your voice with these guys in the background now. That's the swing and miss that they, to me, you want to talk about the word egregious that was thrown around a lot tonight? That's the egregious miss, is they are so set on these two guys based on playoff makes that they've had, that they are missing the big picture of what you need to turn an organization around. So if people want to blame Jim Boylan, there's plenty of blame for him. You want to blame Zach, Lowry, plenty of blame for those guys. But until this ownership understands what a front office should look like and what a front office should be identifying, we're just all yelling at the wrong people. And eventually, I know some of these guys just have lifetime scholarships, and that's what it seems. But eventually, when those stands are empty and those TV ratings continue to go down and ticket sales continue to go down like they are, eventually the old man will wake up, because Jerry will put up with a lot of stuff. But when it starts hitting him in the pocket and in the stands and in your TV, Jerry doesn't play then. And so maybe this season will wake the old man up and let him empower Michael more to go ahead and make moves like this instead of letting Michael be fooled by a bunch of yes men around him.
Does Michael have that authority to make those?
He doesn't have final say, but he has say. Jerry listens to Michael. He isn't just blind and just my way or the highway when it comes to the Bulls. When it comes to the White Sox, it's his way or the highway. But when it comes to the Bulls, there is a certain amount of respect and a certain amount of say he wants Michael to have. Why not let Michael make this move? The fans will embrace it. And, you don't want to fire. I'm not calling for anyone to get fired. You can positionally move guys within the organization. Who cares what you pay them? And who cares what their title is? So they park in a different parking spot. Who gives a damn? But you needed to bring in. Look, I think Griff is a great basketball mind. As soon as he got that New Orleans job, who did he jump at? Trajan Langdon.
Yep.
Wasted no time. And this was a name I've heard for a couple of years from a lot of guys saying, this guy just gets it. And we saw what Brooklyn was and what they'd become with very little talent. And so, look, we can scream at the walls and to me it's just a waste right now. I'm kind of just numb to it all. Until that change is made and the fish isn't allowed to rot from the head down, until I see that, I know my ass is going to be home in Minnesota come April 11th after the last day of the season. Every year, I'll wrap up the condo here and see ya.
You got to think that they backed themselves in the corner with this one. Specifically, they gave Jim the extension. They really, really liked Jim. They took pride in this roster, enough pride to be comfortable enough when the season started to use the playoff word. So what is it then? You're on this terrible kind of losing trajectory. Is it the coach that you really, really like? Or is it yourself with the roster that you put together? And I think we may have this is probably as close for me to a come to Jesus moment from this organization that we've ever gotten in this entire time. Gene, do you got any thoughts on that?
I'm going to continue to say the same thing, man. Like Joe said, I say the same thing all the time when I have these Facebook groups and I got these Twitter groups. It starts at the top. It starts at the top. And like he said, man, of course, Jim Boylan, come on, man. What made them think that he was the perfect guy for the job? What do you think?
He was in-house.
Is he he's got to be the lowest paid coach in basketball. Mm-hmm. It's simple to me.
If you think about the situation they have right now, Fred's money is prorated. They're still paying Fred minus the Nebraska money. They're paying Jim maybe. He's somewhere, I'm guessing, between $1.6 million to $1.8 million. This year, next year, the third year is still up for debate if it's guaranteed or if it was an option. Most people are saying it's an option, but other people are saying no, it was guaranteed. Regardless, they can easily escape all of that money after this year, and the 1.8 is nothing for a coach. So there is an out after this year. I just don't know how you can sell that to a fan base that is so disgusted right now of, at some point, how many coaches can you go through? At some point, it's you. And Eugene said it earlier. Mm-hmm. This is a franchise that historically overvalues its players. Mm-hmm. And in this case, to me, may have overvalued players, coaching staff, scouts, may have overvalued everything. That's why you come in thumping your chest and feeling your man nipples and saying, look, we're going to the playoffs. That's you said those words. That's the goal. You said it, you got to wear it now.
Yeah. I mean, that's and when they said it, I was like, please no. Like, please let that have been a mistake. Please say that, you're still in development, because once you say playoffs, And it's on multiple levels. Jim says playoffs. John says playoffs. The players come out and say playoffs. Thad Young says all-stars for Larry and Zach. They have all these great aspirations, which is fine. But now you're being held to that. In these last couple games, I've seen the narrative try to switch itself with Jim, using development a lot more in his post games when that wasn't the case before.
Not now for a playoff team.
Right. Now he's trying to develop, and when I asked him, has the goals changed now? Because specifically that last one was, well, we still got a young team. We're still developing. Well, you look at Phoenix, who's the youngest team in the league, and they have a winning record. They're playing great basketball. With a suspended number 1 overall pick, they're still playing good basketball. What's your excuse? What's your excuse? And in terms of years, yes, you're young. But the players that you build around, Larry, he's in his 3rd year. Zach, he's in his 6th season. Thad Young, veteran. Thomas Sadaransky, I think 3rd or 4th year. The guys that are playing do have NBA experience, and they should be winning more games. But again, like you guys said, it's starting from the top. The top has whatever good that can come from this roster. You won't be able to find it because of the people at the top that seemingly don't know or don't get it, or maybe not understanding, the pain that the fans feel, when these type of games happen. And this is going to keep going. The schedule doesn't get any easier, for them. So it's going to get uglier before it gets a lot better.
I agree, man. But like you talked about Phoenix, they made a much-needed change, and they got Monty Williams in there. And, it's like you said, they're the youngest team in the league, but now they play with, more tenacity. They play more together. It's like having, like Joe said, a guy like Trajan Langdon who's respected by his peers and by executives around the board. So, again, man, I try to get the fans. Fans are duped, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I can take myself out of this position and I can go like I'm sitting in the 300 level. And I understand it 100%, but what I try to get the fans to understand is that's why we're here. We're the voice for you guys. We're trying to tell you what's really going on. And, a lot of them, they don't, they think what they want to think. They're entitled to their opinions. And, as long as they can get free fetus dogs, when they miss 2 free throws at the end of the game, or, as long as the Bulls digital media team, sends free tickets to these Facebook Bulls fan groups and stuff like that, they'll be great in the fans' eyes, man. They'll take losing seasons. There's same thing with Jerry. He got six banners in there, man. People come in here to sit around, have a party, reminisce, look at the banners, spend a few dollars and go home, man. The product on the floor is secondary.
Man, I'm done talking about this team for tonight. I mean, I'm good. We got things to do. Joe's got to take flights and whatnot and get back home. So thanks a lot, Joe. Thanks a lot, Gene.
Anytime, bro.
For coming through on this.
Loved it.
Hopefully this allowed you guys to vent. This is basically kind of what I do back here. It's kind of just vent, about what I'm seeing on the court. So thanks again for checking out this podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at the Tony Gill. You can follow Eugene on Twitter at Stay Humble. You can follow Joe at
Don't follow me.
Sometimes
if you don't want the business, don't follow Joe, man.
And also check out his Lawrence Holmes episode interview. I mean, that was real dope.
Definitely.
Real, just real. Real raw and intimate. So it was real great. Make sure you check that House of L with Lawrence Holmes. I'll catch you guys when the Bulls return. I don't even know their schedule. I don't even
Dame Lillard. They play Portland Monday. Yeah.
I mean, Portland isn't playing well either right now, but I mean, the Bulls are the get-right game.
They are.
They're the get-right game.
Tony,
you're not doing well.
We've turned into that team, man.
Yeah.
Remember, we're the team that you come here to see the other team.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it feels like. You hear the crowd when they announce Jimmy Butler, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. you come to the United Center now to watch the other team play.
Sorry, fans.
All right, catch you guys next time. Peace.
The best podcast in the world. No Zones!